Welcome back to Jason with a J, everyone. I am Jason with a J as always. Today we have a super special episode for you. How special, you ask? Super, I just told you. In this week's video, we're actually going to be diving into flat earth theory. As it turns out, one of my buddies actually knows a guy through Airsoft who believes that the earth is flat. Super cool, super down to earth, I guess pun intended, guy. So for today's video, we're going to have a discussion. Conversation lasted about an hour and a half, 2 hours almost. Filtered it down to about the hour of the best content, so you're gonna wanna watch till the very end of this one. Now, it's not going to be the traditional one or maybe what you're expecting. It's not he throws out a point, I make a counterpoint. It's really more understanding philosophically how he got to this point, why he believes what he believes. We get into what he actually believes. We're gonna get through questions like, why does he think that in the northern hemisphere toilets flush one way, in the southern hemisphere they flush the other way? It's going through, does he believe in the ice wall? How does he combat some of the typical objections that you might get? What does he think about satellites? What is the sun? What is the moon? Are there other planets? Are we enclosed in a dome? We get into all these topics. It's an amazing video. Keep the chat lively. We definitely want to hear what your thoughts are. If there are any things that you want to bring him back for, you need him to clarify. We're going to set up some chapters for y'all so this way you can follow along at home. You'll know what is going to happen where if you want to skip to a different part. So Ryan, really appreciate you helping me make this video. We think it's going to be an absolutely tremendous one. So everyone, thank you for tuning into the channel and buckle up because this one's about to get exciting. Yeah, appreciate you taking the time, man, because it's we've been talking about doing this for, how long has it been actually at this point? Because we
put this in play for a couple months for sure.
Yeah, something like that for sure. And yeah, it's just been it's been kind of interesting because since we first chatted, and by the way, none of this is rehearsed, so this is all just top of my head. So we're just gonna meander and see where it goes.
This is a first time for me, so I hope I'm doing all right on the video stream.
Probably to start, it would make sense with just kind of getting into your journey, who you are, explain to the folks why you're here, and maybe go from there. Maybe we'll record another intro later. Who the hell knows? But wherever you want to start, brother.
Oh yeah, no, that sounds good. So I'm here because obviously a mutual friend had brought us together. Shout out to Bones over here producing the show in the background. So yeah, we had a little talk. We got kind of deep in our first talk, and then we kind of took a break, right?
Yeah.
And you had a chance to kind of maybe even digest and look into some things that I was saying, and hopefully that is what led us to doing this podcast here and talking to your viewers and your friends and family and whoever else is watching. All I can say about myself really is I'm just a normal dude who, when 9/11 happened, I saw things a little bit differently, and it made me search and just see the world a little bit differently. So that's really all I can say about why we're here and who I am, and I guess what we're about to talk about here pretty soon.
What I wanted to get out of today, I guess, is kind of understanding your journey in the, what would you even call it? Like is it alternative Earth theory? Is that what it is? Like, what is the sort of the progression that you've gone through? What would you call that? Not that it needs a name, I guess, but.
Well, yeah, I guess nowadays everybody kind of has a different belief, whether it's the Earth's round or it's hollow, and even Godzilla or King Kong or somebody's living inside a hollow Earth or a Gartha or or like the flat Earth. Of all the conspiracy theories, a lot of people find that to be the number one conspiracy theory because it can open up so many doors. To be honest with you, I was not always a flat earther. I thought the Earth was round like everybody else. Then I was like, man, no, it's hollow. Like the Earth's hollow, and there's a whole nother world inside the center of the Earth, and you see that in movies, so you can easily believe that. And then there's obviously people out there that believe that as well, that put this out in front of you with a way of actually making you believe in it. But it wasn't flat Earth that made me believe in any type of thing. There was other things in play that happened that brought me to flat Earth. This was like the last thing that I researched. So I was always one of these people that, the Earth ain't flat. My really good friend was telling me for a long time, about this flat Earth. And I was always, I can't even get down that. And I was the one that would shoot him down. I would be like, I'm not even trying to entertain that, And now I dove into it, and I guess the Egyptian, Mesopotamian, Sumerian, before Egyptian, Israeli cosmology is something that I believe in. I believe in that nowadays.
Effectively, at one point, you started off, you were a kid up into whatever age, believed the earth was round. And then at some point, there was some event that started you down a path. And where you are now, your research has led you to believe the earth is flat, right?
Yes. When you're in the classroom, you see a round ball and the teacher spins it and points to all different countries and places in the world. So you're already from a young age, we're programmed into thinking, okay, we live on this spinning ball that's whirling through space, orbiting the sun at 66,700 miles per hour. But if you were to look back at that in 2015 to 2017, flat Earth was the most researched thing. Google had changed their algorithms, and instead of undercutting and swiping all these videos, they put more videos out. So just through society, culture, and everything, the TV, the movies, that everything is just kind of trying to pull me away from my senses. And I just decided to look into myself more rather than watching programming. I can't really say one thing about what has pulled me away from one theory to another theory, other than just a deep dive into history, the history that they don't really want us to find anymore.
I guess my first question would always be like, so, and I think you might have just answered this, but there was no one event that kind of sent you down the path to exploration. It was really just, so like there was no one major turning point in your life. It was, you just started doing some research, and then, you find one breadcrumb, another breadcrumb. Now all of a sudden you have a whole piece of bread. Is that fair? Like that's kind of how it started for you?
That's exactly it. You're never going to put it all together at once. You have to really follow through and find the right people also. Like there is a whole truth community of people that are suppressed that at one time had 500,000, 780,000, 2.1 million viewers, and now they're down to like 1,500. They don't even want you to know who these people are anymore. The key is just, for me, was finding the right people. Like I said, if you look at history, there was a whole bunch of ancient civilizations that didn't say that it was round or say that it was hollow, but believed in a flat Earth model. And what was it, in 1542? That's when that all had changed for humanity. And you can look this up. These are just regular things that you can research. When you start getting into like Newton and all that, you can see that like the ancients' way was just being altered and changed. And nowadays you have, if I'm going to start talking about corporations, I don't know what we can talk about or can say or can't say without being censored here, but it's like, well, NASA is the one giving you CGI videos. I mean, they're not even real pictures of the Earth. If you looked at Russia and you looked at China and you looked at America, they're all putting different visuals out. North America looks real big when USA puts it out, but it looks real small when China puts it out. It's like, it's, to me, like it looks like there's CGI enhanced videos. And when you start going down the Disney NASA loophole, you start seeing that it's a business. These people still are taking $58 million a day in our taxpayer money to tell us these scientific truths that we're all supposed to believe in, because they wouldn't lie to us, right?
Yeah. So there's a lot to unpack there. Now, obviously, growing up, I've gotten all the round Earth information drilled into my head. That's the most prevailing theory as you're going through school. So I know that, and I was watching some videos just to see how it's being talked about. And the CGI thing is something that comes up over and over. And my question to you, or well, a thought and then a question. So the thought is, there are, let's say, panoramas, right? So you take a series of photos, they're stitched together, Photoshop, you can enhance them. So one of the arguments I've heard is that doesn't mean that the Grand Canyon doesn't exist. It just means that it made more sense to stitch pictures together to form a more complete picture. So what would you say to that specifically? Or like just, I guess, share additional thoughts on that.
I think nowadays it's obvious there's great technology where you can fake anything and you don't even need a studio. So I think you can make anything possible. I think that there's people that are skilled enough and have the apps on their phone where they can make it look like they're in zero gravity in a spaceship floating around. It's become a big part of our world. So as far as like what you can do or can't do with making pictures and faking pictures and CGI graphics and all that, I think that anything can be made possible these days, basically on a computer. So you gotta, anything, you gotta be careful with what you're looking at and and what you're digesting. Because I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I haven't, but I bought into so much fake stuff along my journey, irrelevant stuff. You're going to get led down dead ends. It's just a part of going through a process of trying to find what you want to find in life, and trying to, if it's wanting to see the world a little bit differently, it really all depends on what you're looking for and what anybody's looking for as far as knowledge or conspiracy theory or whatever you want to call it, because there's a lot of stuff out there. But I'm not going to sit here and say that I haven't fallen for stuff. I've definitely fallen for stuff like anybody else.
Totally, man. Yeah, and it's funny because having gone through this YouTube production process and learning how to edit photos, edit videos, it's amazing what you can do. Me with very little information, I've been at this for 3 months, and one of my last videos, I had a person disappear while eating a muffin, and the muffin hit the ground. It's been fun and all, but catch you later, man. I have no training in any of this. It's just a couple YouTube videos. And even when you watch movies like Interstellar, things like that, it's not inconceivable that CGI, at least where it is today, could create some very, or hyper even realistic images and models in space. I guess typically the question that people would have is okay, that makes sense in the here and now, but what would you say back in the day, right? Because Photoshop, I don't know how long Photoshop's been around, but moon landing was 69. So I don't think Photoshop was around back then, but would you just say that was ultimately, like a Hollywood set type of deal?
It's basically, look, when NASA, Operation Paperclip, when World War II happened.
Operation Paperclip.
Yes, when World War II had happened, and America had became the big dog, and we didn't exterminate and kill all the major Nazi professors, soldiers, doctors, scientists. They came to America. This is even like unclassified CIA now, so you can look this up. And Disney, NASA, and a man named Werner von Braun, and you can look that name up, and you see that, first of all, on the man's tomb, he's a Nazi scientist that came over and created NASA. On his tomb, he has a Bible quote of the firmament on his tomb. And you're talking about the number one Nazi scientist that had came over and started NASA in America through Operation Paperclip. So there's things like that out there. And look on his tomb, there's a Bible quote on there. Those are things when you start lining up the elites, and you start lining up the major players and their beliefs. A lot of it is sun worship, and I'm not, I believe in a creator, but there's historical just evidence that these elites believe in that kind of line up with what I have come to believe and what we're talking about now.
And so firmament, just for those of us who don't really know what that means, because I've heard that word a pile of times and I just looked it up. So looking up the firmament, so basically the heavens or the sky, especially when regarded as a tangible thing, using a sentence, thunder shakes the firmament. So firmament is the heavens, the sky. What do you mean when you say firmament?
At first, I would take almost like as the Bible talks about the firmament and it being solid. I'm thinking you might be enclosed in a glass dome, and the stars are actually water droplets, because the elite believe, the Bible and Torah, they talk of a flat earth and the waters above and below. And this is Israeli cosmology. So when you start getting in touch with your senses and you start looking out at the beach and you see it's a horizon, it's not called like sea curve, it's called sea level. And I go to the beach, we have a shore house. I spent my life going to the beach, and, we play ball in the water, and the water's spinning off the ball. But here on Earth, we're spinning and orbiting 66,700 miles per hour around the sun, and we're whirling through space. I forget how fast, but yet everything from gravity is held together and you don't feel a single thing. I don't understand. I don't see how it can happen for one and it can't happen for the other. So with the firmament, at first, yeah, I thought maybe it might be a glass dome, but I think we just live in a giant energy field, and I couldn't tell you if it was a glass dome. I couldn't tell you if we were enclosed in an energy field with holograms are a big thing. The moon, when it orbits, why do you only see the one side? It doesn't spin, and they tell us that because of the the moon's spinning at whatever it is, like 1,200 some 2,000 or whatever miles per hour, and at the Earth's spinning and orbiting at its, that you can't ever see the moon ever change. It does the same thing, just like the stars and Polaris every single night, fixed in the sky as the stars rotate around us. If you look up and get in touch with your senses, these cameras nowadays take the fisheye lens off. Well, it can expose a lot of things and bring us just back to our senses and seeing that every day the same exact thing is happening around us. How, if we were whirling through space like they say, how do the stars not change? How does every single night does Orion's belt align with the Great Pyramids in Egypt? Right above it, right across the three pyramids, Orion's belt lines up perfectly at the points every single night. How does that happen if we're whirling through space?
Yeah. So again, kind of a lot to cover there. So I guess maybe pulling us back to, so you go on this journey, and was there any, I know there was no one thing that set you off on the journey. Was there any one piece of evidence or one article you read, one video you saw that you could point to say that was the final moment? Like, that is when, in my head, like, yes, that was it. That's when we went from round Earth, Ryan, to,
Yes.
hollow Earth, flat Earth.
Yes. When I started understanding the elite game plan a little bit better. That's what brought me into flat Earth, as I kind of mentioned earlier. And what happened was I just started aligning the occultic nature of the beast with the cosmology, and basically a lineage of cosmology of a certain, it's a Scythian culture. This is an anthropologist named Robert Zepper is what was able to kind of help me go dive deeper, because I was able to align a culture, a tribe of people with the cosmology and the religion that we're presented with today. And we're told that like Sumeria is the cradle of our civilization, but it actually, that's what they want us to believe. There's actually thousands and thousands of years of tribes and culture previous to that. And so aligning anthropology with cosmology and occultism is what actually got me to believe that this is what is to be, and not so much as what we're being told, because everything we're being told, this group of people's making money hand over fist on us. And I look around and I just see wealth and money being taken away from the people. So that's what brings me here talking with Jason is it's not even about like what we believe as much as it is that follow the money and take some things that I'm saying and look into them, and you might look at things a little bit differently too.
So references to they're making a lot of money. So I guess why, if the Earth is flat, there was a group of people that created the idea that the Earth was round. So when in the research that you've done did that start taking shape? So when did we start believing the Earth was round, and what is the reason for that? So I know we're talking about making money, and I would assume you're talking about NASA, because you'd mentioned them, but like who before NASA, and when did all of this start, and
Yeah,
why?
like basically what was it? It was the 1500s that they started, when Newton and when the science started proving heliocentric model. But like, just like money can be money magic, well, science, and I'm not going to sit here and say that there isn't good science. I know that there's good science that helps people, and it's black and white, as above, so below. Like, there's good and bad and everything in this world. But science is also magic, and I believe that they can use it to manipulate our minds, tell you that they're doing great feats at these mathematical equations that none of us can solve. They can't even solve them themselves, and they just go on and on and on. And they use this math and this science to tell us that it was this way, and we all went, "Oh, they're so smart. Yeah, it has to be that." And back then, that's how I believe this all stuck, because I think that there's a master manipulator at large. That's the way the system is, or the human mind is easily manipulated. So if you put something in front of us long enough, we're going to tend to gravitate it It's herd mentality, and it's just the nature of humanity.
So, it's an interesting segue, but I can't help myself. So you say gravitate. So that's going to send me right into gravity. So what are your thoughts on what are your thoughts? Sorry, I was like, you said gravitate, and I was like, gravity, we're doing it. I don't even care. So gravity, what is that? How does that work? I've heard several theories, but I would love to hear your opinion on what it is, how it works, why we have it.
I think that the Earth is created by a creator this way. We're not going anywhere. It's just like everything else. Gravity is a theory. They're just telling you that we're all being held down by a force, and it seems to me like the Earth was created this way. And if there's any force, it's just the force of nature. I just think gravity is a theory. It's like I said, it's just a part of your senses. It's just realizing things. Just starting to see things differently. And Eric Dubé is a great person to help you do that as well. That's another guy. I looked at this biblically, like flat water. There's a YouTube, and he reads the scriptures and has these pictures that literally presenting like Jobs and Isaiah and the Revelations, the Book of Enoch, and which should be in the Bible and isn't. That's another reason. The Book of Enoch is another flat Earth story that should be in the Bible and isn't. All these things come together.
So going back to it, because far be it for me to understand exactly how gravity works, but basically, masses of a certain size have a pull. The Earth's is 9.8 meters per second squared. So what you're saying is to you. So first of all, I guess backing up, backing up even more. So what do you believe is outside of Earth? Like right now, the solar system that most people believe in is there's a sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and then Pluto, however it's categorized these days. But they all spin around a sun. They're all spheres. Then there are stars, there are galaxies, all of that. What of that do you believe in? What of that do you not believe in? So is there a sun that we spin around? Are there other planets? Do stars exist? What is out there beyond Earth?
I don't think there's anything out there beyond Earth. I think that we live in a pond and there are other ponds around us. I think that there is more landmass out there than what we're led to believe, and that's why we're only allowed to go so far. I don't believe that it's like The Simpsons, and you watch the episode, and Springfield gets enclosed in a dome, or like the Truman Show, when you're just enclosed into a dome and you just hit the glass wall and you can't go anywhere. I think that we live on a landmass that floats on water that is larger than anybody could ever imagine. That's what I think about it. And I think that this gravity, or whatever is holding us all together, is a part of this whole creation. You have a mathematical equation for gravity. That's great. Yeah, it's probably accurate too. But it's, to me, that this is all just a part of creation. And I think that we're all enclosed in a giant energy field, and that energy field is a part of the gravity that holds us all together.
So helping me understand the version of the Earth that you believe, right? So I'm thinking.
Picture this, ready, Jason? Picture this, ready? So we know that there's tectonic plates. What's a plate? A plate's flat. Picture the Earth. You can feel the energy. There's definitely energy in the Earth. Some can feel it more than others, and the Earth is a circular, and everything spins around in a circle, but the Earth pumps like a speaker. It's magnets and tectonic plates, and the level Earth, it operates like a speaker, vibrating energy. That's how I see the Earth.
Okay. So you're saying like we're sort of in a pond, and then beyond that, there is more land. So I guess from your perspective, do you believe that the flat Earth extends infinitely along the plane that it exists on, the flat plane, and it goes off infinitely? Okay. And then what?
And who knows how long it goes? They only let us, the people, know so much and go so far. If you live on a ball, then I want to see NASA. I want to see somebody take a video of an Australian swimming in on the beach in Australia, like upside down swimming. I mean, it's to me that's ridiculous. They call Australia the land down under, but that means everybody in Australia is standing upside down and swimming upside down to a ball because gravity is holding it all together. I mean, to me, that's a little far fetched, and we don't think of it. We don't think of that. We don't think of it that way. But if you fly to Australia and you kept your eyes out the window from right here all the way there, you would see that that plane and that land are completely parallel from one place all the way to Australia. It's always parallel. You're not going upside down and then hanging out for the weekend or for the week upside down in Australia.
What's interesting about this conversation is it kind of goes in a lot of directions, and I try and remember where the pieces are, where we leave them, but it's if I forget something, don't kill me, everyone out there. Really quickly, the pond, as you explained it, the pond that we live in, one of the popular theories I've heard is that we're actually surrounded by an ice wall, and that
Yeah, they
is.
say it's like 20,000 feet or something like that, 30,000 foot, 20 some thousand foot ice wall.
So do you believe in the ice wall? Is that just the prevailing theory? Do some people believe that? Like do you believe that, first of all?
Me personally, I think that there probably is an ice wall that tall, but I don't think it's consistently in a 360-degree wall all the way around us. I think that there are definitely spots in Antarctica where you could pull a boat up to and walk right onto Antarctica. And I do think that Antarctica wraps around us. It's not underneath a huge landmass underneath the center of the ball like they tell us, but it actually wraps around us. And eventually it turns into mellow green land. I don't think that it's just continually just hundreds of thousands of miles of ice that just continues to go on. I think that there's a whole lot more land out there, and there's books and different historical books and evidence from Egyptian times and others that kind of lead you down this thinking as well. It's not just something that I'm conjuring like, man, Ryan, this guy sounds crazy. These are things that I've read through what survived history and great minds that some have risked their lives and have been killed telling this stuff to us. So there's a lot of people out there that lost their lives, get information out to us so that we could grow and see things a little bit differently.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny, right? Because you sound crazy, and I would think that that's definitely one of the stereotypes that you would run into because, as I believed the earth is round my entire life, when you hear that this theory exists or that there are folks out there, like it does, like it jolts you. And like, I don't want to use the word crazy, but since you did, it's like, man, like that is a wild thing. But to your point, through various moments in history, you had, whether it was Copernicus, Galileo, Kepler, they were seen as heretics in their time. Like no one wanted their theories to be correct, at least not the church. And then all of a sudden, that is now the science, right? So like they were, one of them, I forget which one it was, and maybe we could, have a little graphic, but one of them was on house arrest until he died. I want to say it was Galileo, but I could be wrong about that. But on house arrest until he died because he was like, we actually float around the sun. And so crazy people have been discovering stuff all throughout history. So like, I don't really get so bothered by the crazy, but I do want to ask you, as a person who believes this, who do you talk to about this? Like anyone that cares to listen? Is it frustrating for you? Have you, who, like, are you just at a bar like, yeah, the Eagles just won, by the way, the earth is flat. Like, how does that, what I mean? Like, do you have to be like,
I don't talk about that. I really don't even talk about it that much, honestly. There's been, I try to talk about it, and sometimes you wind up in an argument, and sometimes you learn from that, and like I've learned not even just in flat earth. I got into an argument once about flat earth. I got into an argument once about something else. And I've learned that what you really got to do is you just got to tread lightly, and you just got to speak from from an open heart and from an honest perspective. And just, you're not going to ever convince somebody of the full, the full Monty, the whole big picture. The individual needs to find truth or find their truth for themselves. We all have our own truth. So like whether I believe the earth's flat and you're out there and you believe the Earth's hollow, or if you believe that the Earth's round, like at the end of the day, we shouldn't ever argue or fight about it. We should make sure we stay together and stay tight. But the key to this stuff is just look into, if there's one or two things that I've said, you can look into that, and that's going to take you down the path of finding some other interesting pieces of information along the way.
Yeah, no, totally, man. And so along those lines, as I've had conversations with people, just getting some ideas, some questions, because it's a really challenging thing in a lot of ways, right? I am not someone who hosts conversations like this very often, right? And I don't really feel like it's an interview. I mean, maybe some people would call it that, but like I'm just talking to you. But I have no experience in any of that. And so it's an interesting thing because on one end, you're trying to have this open, wonderful conversation. But then on the other end of the internet, you have people right now shaking their laptops going, ask him about satellites, like ask him about Elon Musk. So we do have to get into some of that. And some of the questions that did pop up, one of the first ones was, talk to me about satellites. So do you believe in satellites?
Absolutely.
What are they?
Absolutely.
So what are they? Where do they go? What do they do? Are they real?
I think that there are nowhere near as many satellites as they tell us there are. I do not believe that there is cluttered satellite junk up in space. I think that they rely on towers a lot more than people would ever imagine. But yeah, there's definitely, I believe that they definitely have satellites, and they're like satellite TV, for an example. I definitely are running on some kind of satellite, and you can see them, like especially when you put night vision on. I have night vision. You can see them, but they don't look like they're hundreds of thousands of miles away. They really look like they're a couple hundred miles away. And I think that it's just a matter of like the perception. Their perception is that there is thousands and thousands of satellites, and they're colliding with each other, and they're floating in orbit through space as we're all just magnificently flying at an astronomical mile per hour on a crash collision course from some star at any day now. But I think that it's a lot more controlled, and I think that they're on flight paths, and I think that they're a couple hundred miles up in the air, if that. They might not even be that high. They might be 185,000 to 200,000 miles up at the most.
And so going with the idea that we're on a flat plane that extends infinitely.
I'm sorry. I meant like 200. I meant 200,000 feet, to be more clear, not miles. I mean like 200,000 feet. I really don't think that they're that far up at all. Not miles. Miles is too much.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I was like, well, that's. I was doing some math in my head. I was like, oh my gosh.
No, I really think they're not any higher than a couple 100,000 feet up, because you can see them.
And just so I'm fully picturing this, right? So, Earth, and so what we know of as the Earth, like the discovered Earth, I suppose. Then there's an ice wall. Doesn't necessarily need to be a circle, and then land extends beyond that. So then there's what I guess most people would think of as the atmosphere, and we're saying sort of energy field. Does that resemble a dome at any point, or does it just sit in a flat layer above an infinitely extending plane in all directions?
I mean, if you look at the ancient culture, they would tell you that it's some kind of it always makes a dome, the Egyptians, like me and Bones were talking about, the Egyptian hieroglyphs, when they have the two gods holding their hands up, each one, and they have the skyline around them, and they have the stars all up there. That right there, the firmament of, when they talk about in the Bible, being around, every piece of Freemason artwork always has an arch or some kind of dome in it, even if it's small, because this is just a trailing of a culture that's in religion. So I don't personally know if there is. I can't tell you that. Like that's kind of up for the individual to believe. Like for a while, I thought, there's a glass dome. That's what I believe. But now I think that we're in some kind of holographic energy field this energy field creates these stars that spin around us every night with Polaris fixed in the sky, and it is all a part of creation. It's occultic, which doesn't mean satanic, or it's just hidden. It's just a knowledge that we're all trying to find. And I'm still trying to figure out whether the stars, do I believe that they're droplets of water that are light shining off of them, or are they a hologram? There's CIA documents that talk about holograms in the sky. There's also, if you depends if you're into scripture, you could think that they're water droplets. It's not up for me to say how to believe. It's just up for the person to find what they believe. That's what's the most important thing.
That's fair. And so, and that's like really what I'm trying to I guess get out, because I think like I'm building sort of the model in my head of the way that you think that it works, and then trying to think of what the questions would be from there. So my next one would be the sun, the moon. So do you believe, so first of all, what are they? I guess, are they real? Are they man-made? Or they're, they are real, but they live within the dome, the energy field, whatever it is that we're landing on there, they live within that, or they live outside of that?
I mean, if you in the scripture and what my senses see, because I've been on a plane so many times, is that when you're flying and you're parallel with the ground, everything's completely parallel, and the sun is literally sometimes right off your tail wing, not that far away. And the way the rays of the light shine down on us, well, if the sun's this millions of miles away, the light would come at us flat. It wouldn't come at us with rays. They're talking about millions of miles away. It just doesn't. The physics of that, it doesn't add up. So to me, yes, like my senses through my journey have told me that the moon and the sun are enclosed with us. The sun is a hell of a lot closer than you think. Whether we can get to it, I don't know. Nobody's, in my opinion, has gotten to or landed on the moon, but there's a reason why the hidden religions are sun worship, and clearly without it, wherever it is, or ever how far it is, or whether it's inside or outside, or really just a reflection of light for all we know that you can never get to, is it keeps us alive. So it's no doubt the most important thing to humanity to keep us going, because it would be real interesting to see, if the whole world went dark for 60 days, what would happen.
It basically sounds to me like you've sort of gone through the journey, and it's not like you have an exact, like, you couldn't, for a project, if you wanted to on the weekend, really build out exactly what you think the earth is or looks like with 100% confidence, right? So like, as kids in school, they got the styrofoam sun and they're jamming rods in it, and they're here, the earth and everything spinning around it. But it almost sounds like for you have so you've questioned a lot of things, and it seems like there are some where it's like, it could be this, it could be this, and you're kind of leaving it open to interpretation, which I think is actually pretty cool. So is that fair? Like, there are certain things that you're like, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Like, how are you thinking through that?
Absolutely. How could we know if we can't physically put our eyes on it? There's no way of actually knowing. Like, there's a reason these people won't let you get to Antarctica other than like paying a shitload of money and going to one specific spot. That's how I know that you can pay to go to Antarctica. You can go on there's one sliver of land that you can actually pay to get on. It's a lot of money, and it's not on an ice wall. So, like I said, everything comes with a price. Like the internet, yeah, they tell you a lot of truth, but there's also a lot of misconception too. And for all I know, maybe this Antarctica trip that you can actually go on is fake, and maybe the wall is fully around us. Some things you never know. All I know is I just try and follow the history and just historical evidence is what I try and go by.
Yeah. So, and I know you kind of mentioned trip to Antarctica. So I guess, so one of the other questions that comes up, and it was one of the first ones that I had is, so let's say you're a person with all the resources in the world. Why couldn't you or a group of, well-to-do friends rent a boat, rent a plane, charter something, hot air balloon, and get to the ice wall? Like, what would prevent you from doing that?
Right, exactly. Why can't we should all be able to go and do that? I should be able to take my stepfather's 55, 58-foot cigarette speedboat to Antarctica if I want to. Like, why, why can't we? Like, we should be able to do all these things, but they're just going to intercept you and turn you around after a certain point. So
Yeah, so I guess so that to me is the more interesting question, right? So like, who is they? Like, who intercepts you? How do they intercept you? Why do they intercept you? Like, what happens?
some countries, Navy and Coast Guard, they're just going to turn you around.
So let's say your airplane making a beeline for the closest point of the ice wall from where you are. What happens there? Like, if you are not running out of fuel and you're flying straight at it, like what? How does that go down?
If you were flying,
Not like literally. Yeah. So like you're flying, you have a plane that can get a private jet. You just set course,
oh,
due west to the ice wall.
definitely scramble some F-16s or F-35s on you for sure. Yeah, they would definitely scramble something on you.
So I guess the question is, why are there no records of that happening?
Oh, I,
Or yeah, answer that. I don't know,
call it a
but
beast system for a reason. That's all I know. That's all I can tell you. It's a beast system. Not everything's going to be on the records. Just like the amount of money some of these people make, they're never going to tell you the true amount of money they make, let alone their actual figures. A lot of them.
so I guess sort of then two questions in one as we're kind of thinking through the orientation. So one, is the Earth currently spinning in any direction or moving through space at all, or is it just existing where it exists?
There's definitely spinning. There's the stars are spinning around us every night, but as far as the ground moving, like below our feet, personally, I don't think the ground's moving. I think the stars in the heavens above us are moving, rotating around us, doing the same exact pattern every night. You can see this because Polaris is fixed in the sky, and as the seasons change, yeah, this things get further away and come back, but it's happening right here. It's not in a change of any direction. To me, the ground's not moving. We're still, and the stars are revolving around us. And what these elites don't want us to realize is that we are a special species of humanity, and they don't want us to believe that. They really don't.
Do you think that other planets exist? Like, is Jupiter real?
I think that it's just another star in the sky. I don't think it's an actual physical planet that anybody's going on. You could take strong cameras and it looks just like the rest of the stars. Different color, a little bit different glowing vibrations, size. But to me, I believe that the planets are, I don't know, they're either droplets on the firmament or they're holograms in the sky. I couldn't tell you either way. But me personally, I see when I see Disney and you see the arch, the star does this arch. I want you to go look at any video or any NASA space shuttle uh, picture. They do the same arch. They're literally mocking us because they're not going up into space. They're literally going up and coming down. And chances are, when they leave Cape Canaveral in Florida, they're probably just landing out in the Bermuda Triangle somewhere and getting rescued. I just don't see us moving. I don't see us going anywhere. I don't see them. I think they're giving you CGI pictures of these planets. I used to believe in all that. I believed in all kinds of crazy stuff about space and aliens and all that stuff. And honestly, I think it's all just right here now, contained in this, whether you want to call it a bubble or a firmament or an energy field, whatever you want to call it. I believe that everything is right here. other species are out there and they can fly in here and we can go and we can fly over there. It's just certain people are doing it and certain people know about it.
And so when you say holograms, are you saying that they're potentially human generated?
No, I don't think it's human generated. I think it's creation generated, like our creator, God, the heavenly, whatever people want to call that. I call it the creator. We have a creator, God. Most people will call God. I think it's a part of creation. I think it's a part of what keeps us alive and keeps us all ticking on this planet every day.
So then any questions really around, who made the earth, who made the stars, you would say the creator. Is that fair?
Yeah, basically yes. That's how I would call God. Yes.
And does that explain, so there, some other things like, what tides, what causes tides?
Right, like they say the moon and the phases of the moon cause tides. I believe in that is all an energy that is a part of our cosmology that actually creates these tides that mariners and even ancient civilizations have navigated for all ancient times. It's not just like a phenomenon. It's definitely tied into the moon and an energy of the earth.
So in an attempt to kind of understand but not not patronize you, because I certainly don't want to do that, is it fair to say that so you believe that science can tell us what is happening, but ultimately so creator creates, and then created in such a way that science is real, science does apply, there is gravity. However, it's not because of, round object pulling everything to its core. It is creator created gravity, creator created tides, created sun, created moon, created stars, created the energy fields around us. Is that
Yeah,
fair? And then science can explain some of it.
Well, yeah, well, they say that we were created from the Big Bang theory, that there was this Big Bang, and then out we came. But I don't believe that in the least bit. I think that that's just a part of trying to strip like our humanity, like who we are, from us. I think that we're a lot more. I think God's within all of us, and I think that there's an actual intelligent creation, and I don't believe that it was just some they would say that it's just some spontaneous natural bang that the Big Bang theory that and we formed here. I think that it's a lot deeper and a lot more than that. I think that they just are trying to strip us from how powerful we really are, and how there is just that intelligence and that an intelligent creator forming our existence and the earth that we live in.
What's kind of interesting about this to me is like it kind of gets into what a lot of my friends have been talking about lately, which is sort of the universal consciousness. And it sounds like what you're saying to me is the motivation, or who benefits from there being a round earth, who benefits from there being a big bang and other planets and whatnot, are people that would be trying to strip us from ever realizing, universal or total consciousness. Is that fair? Like they're trying to control people so that ultimately we never get to that point, because then we're unmanageable as a population. Is that the ultimate motivation? And I know you kind of answered it before, but now I'm like, kind of thinking through the question again.
No, it's good, because I think that the dive into flat Earth, I think it brings a unique universal consciousness. However, when you're focusing on whether the Earth is flat or not flat, or you're in an argument with somebody who you're never going to convince it otherwise that the Earth is round, then you're not paying attention to what the powers that be are doing and the game that they're playing. So it's like a double-edged sword. It's like if you're making $44 billion a day, do you want people focusing on what you're doing, or do you want them focused on whether the Earth is round or flat? So it's a trade-off. Like that's why for me it was the last thing I looked at, because I looked into all the corruption and all the major players throughout history, and I said, wow, if they can deceive us and lie through this one thing, well then I might as well look into this and see what's going on here. And that's how the pieces started lining up for me. So the universal consciousness is it's important, and like that was like the last thing I had an inkling of things, but like universal consciousness, yeah, I found it personally through flat earth, also through history in religion and seeing how things lined up, and that's important. But for me, no, more specifically, it was really I was looking into the players and who the major players were and who was doing what, that kind of brought me into this stuff. It was never the other way.
It sounds like your journey ultimately began, kind of again circling back to that, is a couple things happened that just weren't sitting right with you. You started doing some digging, and then it was kind of like, huh, that's interesting. Like, oh, well, if that, then like what else is going on? And then you finally get to a point where you're like, oh shit, this goes way deeper. And I know that, keeping this conversation at a high enough level and keeping it light enough, right? Because I'm sure that we can go down some really, really gnarly paths, and maybe we do in another video, if that's
Yeah,
what
that's what I want to be careful. I try and keep it lighthearted. I mean, I probably like don't give too much, but like, you can go into specifics, and I'd rather just keep it like a normal conversation, because there's a lot of things that have been said here. There's still been a lot of things that have been said here, and you look into a couple of these things, and like I said, it's going to take you down into other avenues that you'll be able to go in. So, like I said, like Flatwater YouTube, the hell of a channel. Eric Dubay on YouTube, it's a hell of a channel. These are two good ones that can take you into two different paths of the same journey.
Yeah, yeah. And so we've been chatting for a little while, and dude, I could talk to you about this for like 12 hours. So I wanted to get to. There were a couple other questions that me, the team, some other people had kind of thought of. So maybe to get you to start thinking about it, sort of at the end, kind of what you want to leave people with, because first of all, I love the conversation, and it sounds like it's very different than I expected, to be honest with you, because typically whenever I've watched any videos on this topic, which, as I said earlier, I didn't want to watch a ton of them, they're always just so adversarial. It's always like this guy argues with this guy about very specific things, and I think that it never really moves anything forward, and it's not all that interesting. One of the questions that came up a lot, the Coriolis Effect, and for people who don't know really what that is, and maybe I'm misunderstanding this or misrepresenting it, but it's basically because the round Earth spins on an axis, weather systems spin one way in the northern hemisphere, they spin another way in the southern hemisphere. And this is also what would explain why, toilets notoriously flush one direction in the northern hemisphere, the other direction in the southern hemisphere. So the question to you, Ryan, is what's up with that? Is that real? Is it fake? How does it work? Why does it do that?
Well, I think there's definitely snipers out there that say the Coriolis effect is BS. Me and Jason, I shared a video with him about this, and pour water down on one side of the sink, and you can make the direction of the water spin one way, and you can pour water on the other side of the sink, and you can make it spin the other way.
Recycling water.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, and throw once.
Clockwise, and now it's counterclockwise.
Ready? 1, 2.
So for a company to have a factory that puts the water jet facing one way, and in another factory put the water jet facing another way, which is really what I think they're doing. When you look into the people that run these companies, telling you, you'd be surprised what they do to us. That's my personal opinion on it. Some people might believe in it. We're told a whole bunch of things. So, it's always up to the individual. I mean, Coriolis effect. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of a lot of ploys out there, man. They can tell us a lot of things and make it a part of reality.
Yeah, so so one of the things with the Coriolis effect was toilets. The other one, so toilets and sinks. The other one is weather systems. So observations that in northern hemisphere they spin one way, southern hemisphere they spin another way. Is that? Would you say that that just doesn't happen? That's a coincidence.
No, I think I didn't even know if weather systems are spinning one way or the other way.
Yeah, so my understanding is that could be totally wrong about this, but in the northern hemisphere, weather systems spin clockwise. In the southern hemisphere, they spin counterclockwise, is my understanding. But I'm not 100% sure, and
I'm not 100% sure about that either. I got to look into that.
Yeah, so more to follow. What about compasses? Do they work? Do they always point north?
Yes.
How does that go down?
Well, they don't point. They point. They don't point true north. They actually point like a little bit of a degree off. I think it's a little bit off from true north, but yeah, they do work, and they work off of when I was speaking earlier about a magnetic field and the Earth being like a speaker, because a speaker works off of a magnet. You know, a speaker has nothing more than a big magnet on the back side of it, and no, and that compass is definitely, in my opinion, working off of the magnetic field. It's a part of our energy field of this Earth.
So if you continue following north as far as you can, what is there?
I think there is a North Pole. I think it goes back into like some interesting history that the mariners talked about a golden city, which is where like Odin and Thor theology comes from too.
Well, it's like Viking shit. Isn't that those guys and like Freya and
yeah, like there's mariners and there's definitely logs out there that talk about a golden city in the North Pole, and talking about like 4 channels that go in, and then there's a whole nother ocean and a landmass with a golden city. That's what mariners have in their logs. I don't know anybody that's been there, but yeah, because when they talk about going through, they're talking about reaching this ocean that they have no idea about. These are actual logs from mariners and ancient sailors on the Flat Water channel on YouTube, which is, you guys got to check that out. There's a lot of good stuff on there.
So okay, so compasses do work. They point to, roughly magnetic north. Ship, airplane, travel across. We already did that. So one other question from me and my people. So basically, the ancient astronomers and people that were observing similar things, that the Earth was round in different parts of the on different parts of the planet or whatever. So do you call it a planet? Are we on the planet? Like, is that what you call it?
Well, if you take the T away, it spells plane.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. So is that how you would refer to it though? Like you would still say planet Earth?
Yeah, we could call planet Earth. I don't, it doesn't matter to me what we call it. It's Earth, planet Earth, whatever. Yeah, I don't. It doesn't. It's no.
Yeah, I was kind of curious.
I'm not like it's flat Earth and don't call it anything else. No, I'm not. It's not like that. It's not like that at all.
Yeah, so that was sort of my question. Okay, so back in the day, planet Earth, you had philosophers, you had scientists in different parts of the world that were not necessarily directly connected to each other, communicating, and at the same time making the same scientific observations, coming to the same conclusion that the Earth is round. So my question to you is, do you think that they were somehow all in on it? Like, what do you say about, how could these people, without the technology we have today, all have come to the same conclusion? They were all in on it. They're all complicit.
Just like a Scientology cult, it's just an ideology that formed, and yeah, a lot of them are in on it. A lot of them are known Masons, and a lot of these higher ups are a part of secret societies that people either know about or don't know about, and they believe in one thing in their secret religion, but they're telling us the completely opposite of what their own secret religion believes. Everybody knows there's Freemasons, but look into Freemasonry, look into these people that they run out to us, and you start looking close enough, you start listening to what these people say and what they're telling us, they tell you that they're one of them. And a lot of these people are out here making a lot of money. Well, if you're going to pay me 20 million, $30 million a year to manipulate, I'm getting to a point now where even I might even get in on that. I mean, that sounds like what, simple enough. And I really believe that there's a lot of that going on. And we just got to be careful who we believe in, who we trust in, and who's really looking out for our best interest or who's looking out for their own interest.
Summarized, they
In
were
on it.
all in on it, kind of believing the same thing, and how they got in on it is a song for another time. Because ultimately, this is really just what you believe kind of deal. So we got gravity. So one of the other ones, and I think I know how you're going to answer this. Actually, let me take a stab at answering this for you. Yes, they're all in on it. The modern era space programs. So, Russia, US most notably, China, India, Mexico, Brazil, Japan, Elon, Bezos, all of those space programs, would you say that, they're all part of either a secret society or they're all in on the take in some capacity? I guess like Elon would be the one people would be the most curious about these days.
Sure. Well, the countries are all bankrupt. So in a sense, if these people like Bezos and Elon Musk have all this money, then who can dictate what the country does or doesn't do? That's the countries. Countries are nothing more than a piece of land anymore. The people that you got to watch out for are the Bezoses and Elon Musk with all the money and that are getting ushered out in front of you. And there's like, I don't know. What do you want me to say about Elon Musk? Do you want to dive deep into him, or do you want to just say, like, be careful of him? You know what I mean? Because anybody that has that amount of wealth is giving you visible signs on his equipment and on his spaceship of what he is, but that is for the eye and the inner knowledge and the research for the individual to do to pick up on those little things, because I see things all around that dude that most people don't see or wouldn't see.
I think to keep this conversation super high level, because we could do an Elon Musk special, to keep this conversation where it is, maybe he's a lizard person, maybe he's not.
We're not lizard.
But
whose chair is that? Who bought that goddamn chair here? It's not my chair. Not my chair, not my problem. That's what I say.
At the very least, super smart. So we agree on that. And then
I promise that they're not peeling their faces and there's a lizard underneath there. They're not shape-shifting. I promise that's not. I believe in that. I believe in that for a long time, but that's a part of their ancient culture, all that dragon bloodline, and that's a Scythian culture that I believe they were lizards for a long time until I started really getting into anthropology, which is the study of human life. And then I realized that, oh, that's just a branch off of their culture. The snakes, like in the Bible, they talk about a snake. It's all, and the staff and the spine. It is all occultic, hidden knowledge and symbolism. But at the same time, they have put forth the snake and the eagle. Those are bloodlines of these people that run the world, and it's presented all over in front of us all the time. They're not lizards, though. It's just a part of their ancient, it's part of their ancient religion and culture.
Yeah, I feel like we're getting close to the end of the video, and you're launching into these like humongous topics, and I'm like, oh my god, I just want to I want to go get a case of beer and talk about lizard people for the next 5 hours. Dude, we honestly have to get together.
We can make them lizards if you want to. We could. I've gone and watched all of David Icke's stuff about them, and even Alex Jones is into David Icke's. You got to be careful. You got to be careful for some of these guys because they tell you the truth, but they also don't want you to find out other things too.
Maybe that's a logical place for us to kind of wind this conversation down, because I know we've been talking for a while here, but wrapping it up with, what message do you have to people? Are you the kind of guy who wants everyone to believe the same thing you do? Are you the kind of guy who, you're going to defend it to the bitter end? Are you the kind of guy who changes your opinion? You just want people to do their own research? What would you hope that other people would do with this video, this information?
Yeah, what everybody wants to believe is up to their own individual belief. I'm not here to tell you oh, you have to believe the earth's flat because of what I said or didn't say. Honestly, we kept it pretty vanilla and pretty chill and a nice conversation. All I want to get out of this is I hope that, because I've been through different stages. I'm at this stage now, and all I hope is that maybe I said a couple things that will at least just make one or two people look. It doesn't even have to be whether there's 10,000 people that watch this or 1,000 people that watch this or 500 people that watch this. I just hope that two people at least looked into a couple of the things that I said, and maybe they see something a little bit differently. That's all I really hope to get out of it. No, I'm not going to be like gung-ho flat earther. Honestly, a lot of people think it's the most important thing. I don't. For good information, though, like I said a couple times, Flat Earth, Flat Water on YouTube, Flat Water on YouTube. Eric Dubé, he's excellent. He has great videos. I shared some with Jason. Me and Bones pass some back and forth. There's a truth community of people out there. You gotta find them. I don't want to get into all that and passing that stuff along. Let's keep it on the flat Earth stuff and who I've followed. And I've studied Freemasonry too, which moved me along this process of what the Earth is or isn't. That can be looked at. There's all different famous Freemasons, Albert Pike. There's all different kinds of directions and things you can look into about that. So those are just some things to point out, and take it from there.
Cool, man. Well, is there one piece of flat Earth history or one fact that you think is the most fascinating? I guess we can kind of end with that. Like, is there one? And maybe I should have told you this is how we're planning to end it earlier. But is there one big thing that you just love factually, or however you want to talk about it?
Here's the one thing I love. I love when I'm sitting on the beach and I see sea level, and your eyes, because your eyes are curved at like 1.2 degrees. So that's why you only see, just like the light, you can only pick up so much, but they have these cameras now and your eye doesn't see that boat out there. But when you bring that camera and you zoom all the way in, you can see that whole entire hole and the water from that boat's miles out there. Now they say that there's curvature. You should see curvature at every 8 miles. Well, there's boats out there 16 miles easy, and you can see the whole entire hole from some of this technology we have today. So if it's curved, is it only curved in the atmosphere, or are we really going down under in Australia, and are they really swimming upside down, and are they really walking upside down? These are just senses things. The simple things is what I want people to think about and ask themselves about, because you start going down that hole of what NASA and that Disney joint venture and your senses, and you can start to put a lot together just in an American sense of a flat earth theory. Forget religion or culture or history. NASA, Disney, and your senses, and you can find a lot of stuff out from right there.
Well, I think, man, that's probably the right way to leave it, or the right place to leave it, because I think that's really it, is like, everyone does their own investigation, everyone comes to their own conclusions. And that was one of the cool things about talking to you, man, because, the first conversation we had, this one, and I'm sure we'll have follow-ups, like you believe what you believe, but it's fun talking to you. Like, it's just a cool conversation. And like, even as you said to me the first time, like, it's like, look, dude, like, you believe what you want. Like, I don't care if the earth is round or flat. This is what I think it is based on what, what I've seen and done. So I do appreciate that, man. I'm pretty sure you're going to be back.
Oh, yeah.
When you said if we're trying to get this to hundreds or thousands, we're trying to get it to millions, dog. All right.
We're going for millions.
Trying to get it to everybody.
Right. Get it out
we'll
there.
See what happens, man.
Just a simple conversation between two dudes. That's all. And, everybody make their own mind up. That's it.
That's what it is, man. But hey, really appreciate you. Appreciate your time. And yeah, man, we'll see how the crowd reacts. And I feel like you're going to be back. I feel like that's how this is going to go.
We'll do it again. This is the first time. So this is pretty cool. Never